What if I were to tell you that the things that you are desperately chasing in your relationship, to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel appreciated, isn't actually what you want? I've spent 30 years trying to figure this one out, not only for myself, but for probably upwards of 3,000 clients that I've been working with over these past years. We all do this, especially women in my age bracket, thanks to the world that we were raised in. We all tell ourselves, I'll feel more loved when my partner expresses more appreciation. I'll feel more loved when my partner gets better at talking about their feelings. I'll feel loved when my kids are older and I don't have so many people depending on me and needing me. If any of this sounds familiar, I can relate. I'm going to tell you the truth that I wish I had known earlier. Hi, my name is Laura. Welcome to my channel. I am a therapist working outside of Philadelphia. And today I want to share with you something that I'm a little bit embarrassed about. So I don't know if you know the book, The Giving Tree by Silverstein, but I used to love this book. And I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit it. And let me show you why. So the way the book starts out is once there was a tree and she loved a little boy. And every day that boy would come and he would gather leaves and they would play hide and seek. And then a very long time goes by where the tree is by himself until he comes back. And the tree is so excited. And she says, come boy, come climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat my apples and play in my shade and be happy. And the boy explains he's getting too old to climb the trunk. And he actually says to the tree, I want some money. And the tree says, I'm sorry, I don't have any money, but why don't you go ahead and take my apples and then you can sell them and then you'll have some money. And so the boy was like, okay, cool. So he takes the apples and he brings them to town and he sells them. And so this story goes on, and let me just fast forward it for you because it just keeps going like this, where the man gets older and then he says, I want a house. I don't have any money to buy the house. And the tree says, take my branches and then you can buy a house. And then he comes back and he's really destitute. And, the tree says, come and play. And then he says, can you give me a boat? I don't know why he needs a boat, but anyway, the tree says, take my boat and then you'll be happy. And so he basically chops down the tree and there you have the tree trunk. And then how does this book end? She says, I wish I could give you something, but I have nothing left to give. So she says, come boy, sit down and rest. And the tree was happy. And that's the end of the story. Shout out to Animated Children's Book for the video credit for this scene. As an adult reading this book, I wonder if Shel Silverstein intended for it to be something that we strive to be like the tree, which is how I understood it as a little kid. As a young person growing up in the 70s, I glamorized selflessness. I believed that if I was just generous enough, if I was giving and didn't expect anything in return, that made me a good person. That made me feel good about myself. But now as an adult, I read that and I realize that I've run into a lot of troubles in my life, and it has been a disservice to me, and it's been a disservice to people that I've been in relationships with to kind of adopt this philosophy. I thought it was working, right? Because I would get accolades. I would get messages as a child that, oh, I was such a generous kid. I was so good. And that felt good. Of course, it feels good to get that positive reinforcement. But the time that it didn't work out is with romantic relationships. Those accolades and that positive reinforcement was covering up something much deeper, which was an underlying feeling of unworthiness, which I think all young people struggle with as they're coming into their own. And maybe you can relate to this. I know a lot of us felt kind of overlooked, like we weren't special just for being who we were. And I think I believed in my little child brain that if I was just generous and selfless enough, then everyone would like me so I could be happy and feel lovable. I had no idea at that time just how dangerous that worldview would become in my primary romantic relationships. I thought that I just needed to double down on my strategy, that if I wanted more love, long-term forever love, that I would just need to be even more generous. others. And then I would feel more loved, right? It wasn't completely selfless because I thought that's what was going to bring me the sense of value, that the more I gave, the more I would get back. And I think on some level, I also had a fear that I didn't have anything to offer if it was just me, if it was just me, showing up as myself, and it wasn't about what I was doing for other people. So I'm going to share with you that in my 20s, I entered a pretty unhealthy relationship. And honestly, I think that the person that I was with was probably fine, and it wasn't her fault any more than it was my fault per se. But we ended up in a dynamic where she wasn't treating me very well, and I was allowing that to happen. I wasn't sticking up for myself, and I was adopting this philosophy of just, oh, I need to be more generous. I need to be more giving. I need to forgive even when she mistreats me, because it's more blessed to give than to receive. I had adopted that so deeply. And I also had this weird sort of backwards belief that she would appreciate how generous I was, that she would see it. And so then I was kind of getting a little annoyed, like, how much do I have to give before you appreciate me? And so my current husband was actually one of the people that helped me realize that I wasn't happy. We had already been best friends for many years, so I didn't do that generous thing with him. We just worked together, and I knew him, and I was myself, and we were friends. It was a normal relationship. But he came to notice that I wasn't acting like myself. I didn't seem happy. I had lost like 30 pounds and stopped getting together with my friends and my family. I stopped making plans. So anyway, thankfully, that relationship ended. I did get out of that relationship. Hopefully she's happier and healthier now as well. And I found a new therapist. And my original goal in therapy was, I'm going to find somebody who appreciates me. I'm going to find somebody who has a similar approach that I do, that they're just as giving as I am, and we'll all be happy and we'll all feel appreciated and understood. And thankfully, I didn't jump into that dynamic right away, because I had a really, really good therapist. She was like, no, that's not your goal, because then you're just going to be the giving tree and you're going to get cut down, and there you're going to be the stump. So ultimately, I realized that I wanted to be with somebody who loved me just because I was myself. And I know that probably seems so obvious to so many of you guys, but for me, I knew it intellectually, but I really didn't understand that that was the dynamic that I was in. My therapist said to me, you deserve somebody who loves you just for sitting there. And I began to wonder, why on earth was I afraid that people would leave me who weren't treating me well? Why was I the one that was afraid that they were going to leave me? And I thought if I just became more generous, then they would love me. And all the while, my best friend, my now husband, was there for me. And he was in a different relationship, and I was kind of grieving the relationship. And then we both realized, oh, we are good enough. And since then, it's been a process of deeply accepting myself for who I actually am. But here's the big learning, okay? Here's what it took me 30 years to understand, that you don't need another person to feel loved. You can do that all on your own by truly giving yourself permission to feel worthy of love, to give yourself permission to not have to give, to not have to do something in order to see yourself as lovable. And once you're able to do that and let go, then the relationships in your life will be much more organic and based on people who just want to be together. That's it. Nobody wants to be a stump, and I don't think anybody wants to be in a relationship with a stump either. So what I said at the beginning of the video is, it's great if you have people in your life who are telling you how awesome you are. All I'm saying is that I want you to believe that even if no one is telling you how awesome you are, you already know that yourself. And then you can walk around in the world not being dependent or afraid that anybody's going to leave you, because you know you're worthy. You probably want authentic emotional intimacy, which is not just platitudes. And I'm going to put my couples therapy hat on for this next video, which you can see there or there, which is all about how to build emotional intimacy one step at a time. And that's much more of a like how-to kind of video. So thanks for stopping by, and I'm really glad you found this channel.